Hello everyone and welcome to our Kectil YouTube channel. Today we are exciting to have Nabila Abbas with us. Nabila is a remarkable global change maker and STEM advocate who has made a significant impact in various areas, and also she is my colleague from the Kectil program and she is a board member there. And Nabila made history as the first Pakistani delegate at the International Congress of Youth Voices in the USA, and has been a strong advocate for rural women's rights. She also has a background in aviation management and has led various initiatives to support rural communities, including education and digital skills program. And in today's interview, we'll dive into Nabila's journey, her work with the Kectil program, and her experience as a leader. We'll explore what inspired her to take this path and how her work continues to make a difference. So, thank you very much, Nabila, for being with us and for your time for today's conversation.
Hello, Oleksandra. Thank you very much for such a lovely introduction. I'm so honored and I'm glad to be here today. And this is always wonderful being working with you. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. And can you please tell us a bit about your background and what got you started on your journey as a change maker and STEM advocate?
Yeah, like the story can be very long, but in a very short framework. I was born in a very remote and rural area in Southern Punjab in Pakistan, which is considered as one of the remotest region in Pakistan, and mainly because in Pakistan uh, there is 60% rural population. So, like this is normal for us as well. So I was born in a very small village, and my father was the first person who actually took this initiative to introduce education in this area because at that time even there was not a single school for girls. So I actually started my formal primary education from his school, and this is how I actually started my education step. And then we faced a lot of challenges because there were no secondary schools or middle schools for the girls at that time, and my father's school was also till grade for the girls due to some infrastructure constraints and some other challenges. So that was a moment where we had to decide to move to district, which is like 30 to 40 kilometers away from the village town, to move to the district for continuing our secondary or middle education. So we did so because my father was a strong advocate for education. By the way, he was a government teacher, but he resigned from his job, and he started his own initiative for introducing a school where everyone should have accessibility to quality education. So I'm blessed that I was born in such a family, but of course the surrounding environment was very tough for me as well as for my parents too. So we moved to the district. So there, I actually pursued my secondary and higher secondary education. And then how I actually ended up doing BS in aviation management is that when I was in grade six, I had this chance to visit an airport, and we went there for a school picnic. It is weird
Wow.
whenever yeah, whenever I tell people that I actually went to airport for a school picnic day, outing day, you can say. So they just got shocked. Okay. So from there, actually, I had this passion about aviation. I did not know as a child, I did not know that what is aviation actually, how things function in this field. But of course, I believe that was an element of passion for me to actually start my, career in something, or maybe a passion to start my higher secondary education. Maybe that was a point for me to stick into that passion. So I just did make a lot of research on the internet that how I can continue my higher secondary education and to which city I can actually go. But of course, at that time, it was also a great challenge to go to another big city of Pakistan because for us, like rural girls from such a moderate family, it is not possible to go to some other cities alone. There are a lot of cultural
Mhm.
things associated. But I just decided that I will go to Lahore, which is one of the biggest city in Pakistan. So I believe like my parents had been very, very supportive throughout this journey, despite of a lot of challenges, societal challenges, cultural taboos, stigmas, a lot of even non-sportive relatives. But still, my parents did support my passion for aviation, and I just moved to Lahore in 2015. And then I started my higher secondary education, like 4 years of degree program. So during my undergraduate study, I would say that I was a strong advocate for young dual girls and women and their education, their rights. So that is why I felt like now I'm in one of the biggest city in Pakistan. Now I have the opportunity. The environment is very open, and because I was observing that both men and women are working there, so they have like very open-mindedness, and the environment is good. Of course, I have many opportunities being an advocate as an activist, so I can link with different organization. Even I can start from my own university. So I believe like from school, college till university, I was always like an activist. So I was always into extracurricular activities, joining societal clubs, maybe even starting own society or club in the university with the help of my department. And they also supported me a lot when I first opened my uh, societal club, which was named as Aviation Literary Forum. It was the very similar to our field, but of course we also have some other capacity building programs in this forum as well. So yeah, I was like always an activist, I would say. So my passion has always been working on education, gender equality, reducing inequalities, and wherever I found the opportunity, I started linking myself with different organizations, either local or international. So yeah, this is how like I ended up having higher secondary education from a university at least. So I'm blessed.
Wow, that's really amazing story. And of course, it was challenging journey for you in that circumstances, in that environment that you were living in that time. And I know that I guess some of the girls that will watch our today's interview, they will inspired by your story, and they will also took some actions in their country and doing advocacy for their people or women and help them to get better future even. And that's really interesting thing that you're working as a youth advocate, you are a leader, but at the same time you had degree, as far as I understood, in aviation management. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, it
And
is.
how has that experience, studying that field, influenced your leadership and advocacy? Maybe that thing had some impact, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I think I just ended up in two different things. When I first decided, like, I will pursue my higher secondary education in aviation, that was a passion to actually pursue my higher secondary education in something. So I think aviation was a passion since childhood, and I was not much familiar about it. But of course, I just ended up doing it, and once I started doing it, I actually started working in uh, I actually started working with different community work projects, like based on education, gender equality, and I started linking with international organizations. For example, I could remember my first international organization affiliation was with the International Congress of Youth Voices, which is a US based organization. So I was a university student at that time. So I just had a research on Google, a very random research on Google, that how I can enter my essay writings to somewhere, for example, because I was always a keen writer as well, writing poems, essays, articles, inspirational blogs. So this is how I just ended up linking with them, and I submitted my entry and it got accepted. And then I just found it out actually they have a summit in, Puerto Rico, a host destination. So that was actually my very first interaction with someone from foreigners, maybe, or, a, or another country, for example, an organization from another country. So there, I actually spoke about rural women rights and the challenges which rural girls face in Southern Punjab in Pakistan, and how the life of two women, like urban women and rural women, is different in Pakistan, and how they have different challenges. And yeah, like from there, I actually started my advocacy about rural girls and women. And that was actually my first visit to some other country. So I think aviation as a degree program has remained as an education systematically, but my passion for advocacy, for education, for gender equality and community work emerged from my extracurricular activities. So these became two different things, and I spend my a lot of time to the second options like advocacy and extracurricular activities and as an activist. And then finally, I ended up professionally working as an educationist in the field of education with my father, for which, of course, I will share more details when the questions are coming. So, but I just wanted to clear here that how I have two options, and like I spend much of my time to advocacy as compared to aviation, because I did not work in the field of aviation as a career. uh, so yeah, but as a career, I just pursued for education as well as parallel working with some international organizations. And yeah, like this is how I just ended up into two different things at the end.
Wow, that's really interesting. During today conversation, and even once I prepared materials for our conversation today, I opened a lot of things about your background, and I was so surprised how you're really professional is. You're really amazing woman that doing really great things as a young leader from Pakistan. And I really believe that everyone will inspire after our conversation, and they will take some steps and responsibility for their communities too. And maybe they will contact you for some guidance or being your mentor, asking for some action step that they can do for their own people. But by the way, let's move to next question that I prepared for you, and I'm really interested to discuss with you about the Kectil program, because thankful Kectil program we met first time, and thankful the Kectil program we have today's interview together with you, and we even work together. So my question is, why did you decide to apply for the Kectil program, and what did you hope to get out of it?
Yeah, as a random research, as always I do for different programs, for different fellowships, to attend seminars and conferences. I think I just came across about Kectil in a very random way. But of course, I will appreciate Azim, which is our fellow and a board
Oh,
member in the Kectil, who helped me to get into this program, and he encouraged me to go for this program and just give a try to this program as well, because I was already doing a lot of things parallel, attending different conferences, seminars. So I just learned about Kectil from him. And then I think I really loved that what Kectil is doing and how they are making convenient. They are making this program convenient and accessible to everyone. Like you can do it virtual, for example. I really like this thing because now the world is moving remotely. A lot of things has been shifted to remote work after the COVID as well. So I found it very interesting, the aspect that I can continue this program parallel to my work, maybe parallel to my other activities. So this is how I just ended up signing up the application, and then I just got accepted. And I believe, like, when I learned that okay, their curriculum is based on very rich full assignments. For example, I just go through the curriculum of the assignments, the topics, like each month how we would be going through a lot of different topics. So from there, actually, I built on my confidence. Like I can speak about these issues. I can even write down about these issues. And these all assignments were and are like very thought provoking, of course. And the topics are very much needed. For example, talking about leadership, governance, financial sustainability. I think like every youth can relate to such topics, and they can find it very productive being a part with Cactil, and they can write down their thoughts, what is going around them, for example, what is going around their countries, and what is their voices about it, what are the some solutions. And even like whenever Cactil organize some Zoom meetups, for example, and there we have a very random debates on different topics happening around the globe. And the one interesting thing is what I learned through Cactil was I learned I learned about a lot of different countries. Like, for example, I did not know many names of the countries. I would be like very honest. I think it was Kectil. It was a platform where I learned about, for example, I learned about Ukraine, their issues. For example, what is happening there and what are their core issues, how the youth is suffering there. So I think sometimes we are really busy in our lives. We are really, struggling in our lives. So that is why we just neglect that what other youth are going through, or maybe what their countries are going through. So I think like Kectil, I would believe like Kectil is a very, equitable and very accessible platform where you can make good connections, where you can make good friends, and you are on a one tap. You can talk to any colleague, you can talk to any friend, and you can learn about some other countries, what is happening there. So gradually, I started networking with other fellows and colleagues from Kectil. So I just found Kectil very, very, interesting platform. And also when I attended the conference, for example, in USA in Atlanta, I think that made me really a different person because I was also attending a lot of other conferences. I would be like very honest. I was attending a lot of other conferences, but in each conferences, I never found that youth are the centered or focus point, and where they have given a chance to speak about their issues, the genuine conversations. So Tactile provided that platform, like without any discrimination. They are like very neutral about it, and they are very, fair and equitable about it. So yeah, like my experience gradually with the passage of time with Cactil had made me very professional as well at the end, because now as I believe I'm the one of the board members. So I think this is one of the great example people can take out from Cactil, that how my professional journey been also supported by the Cactil.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think there are a lot of things to talk about Cactil, of course.
Wow, that's really great. And maybe it will be strange a bit question, but I really want to ask it. Why do you think other young people should apply for the Kectil program? Because right now we have open application form. So everyone who's watching us today, please know that you can already apply for the Kectil program for the 2025 cohort, and you will get even more, I guess, opportunity that we get during our studying at the Kectil program. So, Nabila, why do you think other young people, should apply for the Kectil program this year?
Yeah, like this year the applications are open. So I believe those people, those young people who believe in knowledge, who believes in resource sharing, information sharing, and they want to be authentic, for example, they want to be authentic about themselves, about their countries, about their issues, then I think they should come straight forward to Cactil, because this platform is exactly about all these things. So everything is genuine, everything is very authentic, non-scripted things here in the Cactil. So we want to hear you, for example. We have a lot of opportunities where we encourage young people to speak their heart, what they are going through. So I think such platforms make the things very genuine and very natural. And I believe like all, and I'm sure like all the young people would love this thing, because they also want to be very genuine about their lives, about their countries. So they don't want anything scripted. They don't want anything where the youth are exclusive, not the inclusive. So if they are looking for inclusivity, then I believe Tactile is one of that platform. So they must join it. And sometimes maybe they have this misconception that might be it is a virtual program, so might be it would not have a good work. But I don't agree with it, because now the world is shifting to remote, programs and remote things, and we are still on a one tap, and you can always call your colleagues, friends, and you can talk about some general topics maybe, or maybe if you are more serious and you want to talk about some more serious issues in your country, you can talk about it. And one of the good, things Tactile has initiated YouTube channel, for example. Right now, this is one of the great example here, of course, because I don't believe like any of the organizations are giving every time access to young people to come
Sure.
onto the YouTube channels and to speak about their issues and to get highlighted. So I think these little things does matter, because they can contribute in their lives very, very much. So if they think like they are number one, if they think like they are very serious and they are very committed about their passion and about their dreams. And number two, if they think like they are looking for something very authentic, very genuine. And number three, if they care about their country's issue, about their lives, and they want to participate in a platform which provide them a linkage, a power bank to connect to each other. So I think Kectil is one of those. So they must join it, and they will learn uh, they have to trust the process, because they will learn about Kectil gradually, step by step. They will feel the impact of Kectil in their lives. So for sure.
Wow, that's great. Thank you very much for mentioning the YouTube channel because I'm the person that was created that, and for me, it's really, really valuable that others, other people, other colleagues really value the thing that we are doing on YouTube channel because I remember how I was starting to thinking about that idea. That also was during the Atlanta conference that we both attended, and I heard a lot of stories about the people, countries, what kind of crisis they're facing, and so on and so forth. And this idea just came to my mind, and I was thinking why we cannot share it through YouTube channel. Everyone's watching YouTube during free time, during going to school or back from school, and they will know more about what's going on around their little city, their countries. And I was afraid that no one will accept my idea and I won't get such opportunity to lead this project. But fortunately, I got this opportunity to create and lead the YouTube channel because, as you already said, really less organizations they are giving such opportunity for young people to initiate something and taking responsibilities on the thing that I would like to bring to that world. So thank you very much for mentioning that. I guess you mentioned even more things about Kectil program. And I guess after today's interview, we will leave for sure a link for the application form below on this video. So please click on the link and apply yourself to that program. I'm sure that you will get a lot of opportunities for your future and your career, and you will meet a lot of young leaders from around the world. And today we continue discussing about Nabila journey, about her some lessons and challenges that she faced. And let's move on from for another part of our conversation today. Could you please, Nabila, share a bit what were some of the biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, of course. Uh, I think one of the biggest challenges, first, I think I had a lot of great challenges when it comes to cultural, barriers, because in Pakistan, the cultural diversity is very much prevalent. Of course, we love this cultural diversity and we respect the cultural diversity, but sometimes, like, the cultural uh, differences can cause you a lot of trouble as well in your life. For example, because as I mentioned that I was born in a very remotest rural area. So I, being a rural girl, had a lot of different challenges. For example, I was during my primary and secondary education, I was fighting a lot with cultural taboos, stigmas, because in my system, in my surrounding, girls were supposed to get early married, and it was like very common, even still today. Like, girls are being early married and they do not pursue further education. For example, they stop their education till grade 5, which is very, very common in many of the villages in Pakistan, even in 2024 as well. So for rural girls, like, they don't see education as as an important part. Rather, they see her, settling down in her practical life. For example, the marriage first, and then kids, and so on. So I think that was a great challenge where you have to fight such system, and you want to change these things, and you don't accept
Mhm.
you don't accept those cultural things from your surrounding. And then I believe, like, one of the other challenge was the lack of social mobility of women, because in rural areas, in rural setting, women and girls does not have a social mobility. When I say that social mobility, I say that they stay at homes, they do not have any options of other entertainment or recreations for their lives. For example, they cannot go outside of their homes without a male guardian. And maybe there are two aspects of this thing. For example, number one, because this is a male dominant society, male dominant environment in rural parts of the Pakistan. And number two, maybe it is also an infrastructure, lack of infrastructure, where you do not have much options to go to outside as a woman, as a girl, to entertain yourself. For example, we do not have malls, we do not have parks even for the women, for the girls. So we are only relying on our homes, which is one of the only shelter. And other than that, the environment is not much open-mindedness for women and girls to go outside and to do some, things for themselves. So I believe, like, most of the time, maybe some people would not agree with that. Okay, like, there is no need of women and girls going outside, and it is not a big issue to talk about it. But I would deny in a sense. I believe that social mobility of women and girls is very important because of their mental health. Because when they are, most of the time, they are staying at homes, and they are intended to be, staying at home, then they do not have much exposure of their lives. They do not have good friends. They do not have good environment to entertain themselves. And they are only doing the domestic chores, and this is the only task for them. So I think their mental upbringing is not on that level. Like, it is zero, we can say. So for me, like, these things does matter, and staying in such an environment was a very difficult part. I do not say that I just want to unnecessarily go to outside of the home, but I just want to say that we just need to build some, institutions,
Yeah.
some training centers for the girls, so that they can come out of their homes and they can have a best environment where they can learn
Mm-hmm.
about different things. For example, they can learn about SDGs, like what is happening around the world and what are the core global issues for which their participation is important, of course, being a rural girl. Because inclusivity will prevail when both the urban and rural girls are equally participating into social, economical, and political affairs. But of course, for the rural girls, the environment and the infrastructure is a big challenge. Like, they do not have these options. So I think my upbringing was a very, strict upbringing, you can say, an upbringing in a very strict environment where I do not have much options. I only had my school as a second option to go other than the home, and then, getting studying there, and then making some good friends. But from the school level, I was an activist. I always encourage other girls to participate into sports, for example. Other than studying, we can take sports as a good option for
Mm-hmm.
our recreational purpose, for example, for our physical fitness, for instance. So I always try to find out things that what we can do different, something we can do different other than these normal routine of the girls here in villages and rural areas. So yeah, like, I don't have good memories to share, like, about my environment and the infrastructure. But when I moved to district, I had a different life, because there we have a little bit, best lifestyle than the core villages and core village towns. So there we have good government schools as well, where we can participate into different things like debates, sports, and some other activities, extracurricular activities, and even some national competitions as well. So I had been part of national competitions as well. So and I even yeah, I remember when I was in grade ninth. Uh, I actually visited Lahore for the very first
Oh.
time in my life. Yeah, for a national competition. So yeah, like, I think most of the time the great challenges were the environment, the lack of infrastructure, the cultural, taboos and stigmas which were associated with the girls. And a great challenge was always the crisis of mental health, because I just fell down many times into anxiety, depression, because of this environment, because of the people around me, because of a different, thought process happening inside me, and no one was able to understand it, that what I want actually and what I want to do. So I believe many girls are fighting with the mental crisis as well, where they have no one, where they should be understood about their dreams, about their love for education, for example. So yeah.
Wow, that's really, even heartbreaking story for me. Because everything in what we're living, we trying to compare with something else. And for the women that's living in Europe, in Ukraine, and another, I I can say some development countries too, they even don't value the thing that they have, the opportunity to go to school, the studying, to have free time, going to music school, and so on and so forth. And that's really big challenge, and big challenge that make you even strong. And I guess even thankful for this big challenge, you are doing really great job. And I'm really curious, how did being the first Pakistani delegate, women delegate at the International Congress of Youth Voices, and how this participation change your view on global advocacy? Maybe somehow it helped you, or even it helped your community, or where you will be in that time.
Yeah, of course, like International Congress of Youth Voices had played a very vital role in my life because I was just about, I think, 21 years old. I was about to graduate from my university. And then I had this opportunity where I just got this email that I'm accepted for this summit, for this conference. And I think it was a both novel experience for me as well as a challenging experience because again, it was because again it was something new both for my parents, for my society, for my community to accept that okay, I'm going to another country to represent for something, for example. And then because of the cultural stigmas and taboos, I was like very discouraged about it at a first spot. I was very discouraged about it that no, you would be kidnapped in somewhere, you are being trapped for something, for example. Like these were some of the myths being associated. So now you can understand that from where I was coming and where I was about to go to represent my country. But for me, of course, for me and my for my parents, it was an honorable moment. Of course, they tried their best to make it easy for me so that I can get my visa things done. And because the International Congress of Youth Voices had played a very great role in it, because they knew from where I was coming, because I just told them everything about my environment and my financial, constraints, my cultural stigmas and everything. So the founder of the International Congress of Youth Voices, who is Dave Eager, who is one of the great popular American author as well. So he really supported me, and the co-founder, Miss Amanda Ole, they were like every time they were on call with me, they were trying to understand my environment, my surroundings, how they can get me into Puerto Rico for the conference and about the US visa as well. So I think everything was a learning process for me at the first time, like going to embassy in Islamabad. It was a very novel and first experience for me. I was a little afraid. I can still remember that even when they uh, gave me a blue receipt, which is considered as your visa is accepted, I did not even read it, and I was like looking here and there that what they just gave me and what is the meaning of this receipt. And then someone just pat me on my shoulder and he said, "Congratulations, your visa is accepted. Did not you see it?" So I was like, okay. So like everything was a learning process for me, very new experience and a learning process for me. And I was enjoying, of course, but many times I was being discouraged as well. Sometimes even I thought of withdrawing from this conference. But however, my mother was a great sport for me. Whenever I was sitting in a depression and I just told her that I don't think so I can do this. I don't think so I can go and I can make this attending this summit. So every time she used to say me, this is a great new challenge for you. So you have to take this challenge and you have to go through all the things which are bothering you at the moment because this is a learning process for you. But at the end, I believe you can make it. So I think somewhere, despite of all the negativity, my mother was one of those uh, shelter, one of those support for me who actually encouraged me. And this is how I just ended up attending the conference in Puerto Rico, which was a host destination, of course, because the main organization is from USA. So from there, I think they treated me very well. I would really encourage their accessibility, their policies for inclusivity, fairness. So they treated me very well, and they provided me the platform to speak about my story, to speak about rural women's rights and challenges, and how the life of rural girls and women looks like in Pakistan, for example. So these were like all genuine conversations, natural conversations with friends there, and these were like 130 delegates around the globe. And why I think you can still see on some news channels in Pakistan why they are labeling it as the first youth Pakistani attending this conference, because it was the first time someone mapped on their conference from Pakistan in the
Wow.
International Congress. So that is why they were like very passionate about it. That okay, this is the very first time someone from Pakistan is mapping on our conference, as well as uh, the rural girl, especially. Like, of course, for them, it was a very understandable thing that who is coming and what is the impact of this uh, presence and the presentation. So we are still in contact with the International Congress, and they helped me in many community projects as well. So yeah, I think that was the first step for me, and the journey did not end it. Like, I attended that conference in 2019, and I am in 2024. Each year I'm attending somewhere a conference in some countries with some different international organizations, and I'm making my way, not for me, for myself, but for my other 31% rural girls. uh, and wherever I go, I just represent them. Whatever I talk, I believe it is a message on behalf of them as well. And the success is that I'm still bringing back a lot of community project, and I believe that makes sense, because I don't believe in individual success. I believe in a teamwork, and I believe that this real success is when you start seeing even some little impacts back in your community. And that is why it was my decision to come back to my own community after the graduation as well. I could easily have started my career in any of the big city in Pakistan, or maybe I have easily moved out to some other country for my education, maybe, or for another professional work. But I decided to come back to this community because I believe I can bring a lot of things back to this community, because right now I am the source. So we can produce more, great leaders in the
Mm-hmm.
community. So we have to
Sure.
make them stand out, the other girls. So yeah, like, of course, that conference has made a lot of changes in my life.
Wow, that's really, amazing story about that. And also, before preparing to our interview, I saw that you was one of the who won the Diana Award in 2020. You also recognized as one of the 15 leading lights in the Asia Pacific. You also had experience with the Prime Minister, National Youth Council. You attended the Women Economic Forum and a lot of um, other conference, other competitions, other meetings, and that's really impressive for me because I'm also from a rural area, and for me it was also so hard to starting doing some even changes in my life, and to be brave to attending different such competitions, conference, meeting, programs, and so on and so forth. And what the main challenge for me was it is balancing between career, work, and life. And how do you balance your career, work, and life? What you can advise for our viewers today too? Maybe you have some tips and tricks for that.
Yeah, sure. I think work-life balanced very well in my point of view, because of the reason that I started working with my father as a professionally in his school. So that is why I get a lot of privilege of that as well. I just get an extra privilege of that. because he is always supporting me. He knows what I'm doing. And as a boss, like you can say, as a boss, now he understands me very well that what I'm doing and where I'm going and why my presence is very important into such international conferences as well. So I think he's a good boss. So he gives me, he can give me 7-day leaves, for example. He can give me 15 days leave. So because the work is very much relevant, I am always working in the field of education, gender equality, and everything is encompassing very common things while working in the school as well. So that is why uh, I think it was easy for me to balance this element at least. I have also I have also been experiencing 9 to 5 job culture in Pakistan. I just moved to Lahore for a moment where I was being forced to work in a 9 to 5 culture. But I would be like very honest, I was not made for that. I was not made for that corporate culture or 9 to 5 culture. So that is why I resigned and I quit that job. I always wanted to start something of my own, either or maybe believing in some work where my vision and my mission is very much, relevant, and we have that, balance and that symmetry. That is why I just resigned from that. And even now, I am thinking of opening my own SLC, like Skill Learning Center,
Oh,
in the same area, parallel to this school and this professional work. So I'm still working on that, and I'm just writing emails to different organizations and potential partners, which can help me out to initially build the infrastructure and logistic. So I'm kind of that person who believes in her own strategies, in her own vision. So yeah, that is why it was easy for me to balance out these things. But I cannot survive in a 9 to 5 culture. I don't have any tips for those people who are actually working in 9 to 5 culture, for example, because I believe it is a very tough life, and I really appreciate them if they are doing if they are into that culture and still they are attending different conferences, for example, and they are still taking out some time for other extracurricular activities or some other professional development programs. One tip I can give them is that they can jump into remote programs, virtual things. It would be easy for them. Like, we have many opportunities if they search about it. We have a lot of virtual training programs, professional
mhm.
development programs. So I even work on helping with youth about such opportunities as well. So they can always DM me if they want any help. So I actually first my first question is always like, what is your current status? For example, are you studying? Are you working somewhere? And what kind of opportunities you are looking? And then I give them a customized suggestion,
Wow.
maybe, or maybe customized opportunities, so that I can help them out, and they should be given a very best suggestion, and a very best decision about their lives. So I can give this, and I can do this in a better way. But if they talk about my experience, I'm not used to 9 to 5 culture. Yeah, I always wanted to do something of my own, and I'm still continuing working on this aspect, that how I can improve my professional life and how I can start new initiatives, like very small initiatives parallel to my professional work, and maybe someday I can become a businesswoman as well.
Of course you
So
will.
like
Of
these are
course
my
you will.
goals. Yeah, like these are my goals, and yeah.
Everything will be fine. I believe in that. So, everyone who's watching us today, please note that in the description of the video, we will leave a LinkedIn link to Nabila page. So, you will be able to text her directly about all opportunities and other things that you are interested to discuss with her. I am sure that she will be able to help you with that. And also, talking about opportunities again, how has your work with the US Embassy Islamabad's digital inclusion project helped with your overall mission and all the projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, the US mission to Pakistan, we say it like US mission to Pakistan. It is a project under the US Embassy in Pakistan. And because I'm also an alumna, Pakistan
Mhm.
US Alumni Network, and I just go back when I was in grade ninth. and I was in my district, Tera Ghazi Khan, and there in a government, because I pursued my secondary education from a government school. So in that government school, they introduced an English program at that time, a 2 years of English diploma program in a second shift. Like in the morning shift, you go regularly in the school, you just study your normal curriculum, and in the second shift, you would have this option if you want to avail this opportunity to enroll into this diploma, for example, micro scholarship English access program. At that time, it was named as. So as usual, I was always an extracurricular person, so I just jumped into that and I just signed up for that, and I managed to stay in the school after the morning shift as well. So we were having like 3 to 4 times classes in a week, and after completing that diploma, then I realized actually the alumni have a lot of good opportunities once they are graduated from that diploma. I realized this thing after 4 years. Like before that, I did not knew that being an alumna, what opportunities as I have, because I was in a rural setting, of course. So after completing that diploma, no one did guided me very well that what I can do as an alumna. But once I emailed to US Mission to Pakistan that I'm your alumna and I want to do some things about, I want to do something like community project in my area. And at that time, I was about to graduate from the university. So after that, they recognized that I am their alumna, and because I had some, infrastructure problems, some technological problem, and that is why I was not even in the pool of alumna portals. So they gave me the portal system that you have to log into this portal system, and there you can see a lot of opportunities as an alumna. So once I signed into that, I realized there are a lot of uh, opportunities by them. For example, you can initiate a community project in your community as a leader, and US Mission to Pakistan will give you small grants, for example, and they have each year cycle for the small grants for their alumni. So I put my first project there that I want to do a digital inclusion empowering rural communities with the latest digital skills program in my own, hometown, in my own village town. And I think that was a great process because it was my first time when I put a very lengthy proposal for the small grant. And I think that was a learning process again for myself. And in that, I learned that how we can put forward some logistic, how we can manage our budget for the whole program, and how we can make local partners. For example, I involved my father's school as a local partner for providing infrastructure, logistic. So I think that was a great experience learning about how you can write a good proposal for the project. So it got accepted, and then we worked on it as a team. I had some local other activists as well with myself, so we managed it very quietly good, and we had very good impact of that as well, because we had 40 young rural girls and boys, and I think it was a very first time that we created a co-education space for them. But of course, they were like sitting in separate zones, but they had a co-education training program for this project. So it was the first time in the village town. At first, I was like very afraid if might be we can get some resistance from the parents, from the guardians, how they will react about it. But I believe my father's school had has played a vital role in this because it is a 30 years old school right now in this village town. So he has built a very great trust on parents. He is the actual person who uh, actually started the motivation of education in this village. So I believe out of respect and out of believing in him, in his institution, I got like good support, and I just took extra advantage of that as well. And because he always supported me in my projects as well, so he's always supervising that, okay, what I'm going to do here and what is the project with whom I'm doing. So he always forced me like, okay, it is a good thing, you should do it, and how you should do it. He always teach me about some cultural strategies, that how I can implement these strategies so that we should not face any resistance by
Mm-hmm.
the parents, or maybe the culture should not be disrespected in any ways. So we got very good results after this training program. Even we interlinked some of the young attendees with some organizations, and they are working online. For example, they continue doing some online courses as well. For example, many of the young girls have completed graphic designing course after this training program. So that program became a source for them to link with other organizations and to avail other diploma courses, training programs in the digital field. So yeah, we saw very great impact.
Wow, that's really great. I'm really happy that you have such support from your side and person that where every time will help you, support you, and advise if you need it. And you know, last time that I remember you was visiting Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken, there was some kind of big conference. And before that, you also have you also had some travels and some exchange program that you attended. What have you learned from your all international travels and exchanges that you had? Maybe you have some also advices for our viewers today.
Yeah, I think these conferences had played a vital role in making good connection with the organizations. Like of course, when you attend a conference, a summit in some other country with some other organizations, number one thing is you learn about their work, for example, what work they are doing. And as a community activist, I always try my best to tell them about my work, about my environment, about what is needed in our culture, for example, what is needed in our villages. So what are the gaps and what are the needs and demands? So I try my best to communicate and negotiate with the authoritative bodies there. And I think that has given me a good benefit because many times I was very successful about it, and I brought back good community projects. Sorry, and even many of the organizations have invested small grants cycles in many of our community projects. So yeah, I think such conferences and summits does play a vital role in your life, but you need to be very, outspoken. You need to be very a good communicator. For example, how only attending the summit will not benefit you. For some reasons, there are some conferences, some summits where you only go and attend these conferences, but it depends on you how you want to end your journey with them.
Mhm.
Either you want to end your journey with them or you want to continue a long journey with them. So my trick and my strategy has always been in a way where I just don't want to attend these summits. I just want to take out the long-term, benefits of that summit and that conference. For example, you have just mentioned about Malaysia Summit. It
Mhm.
was a summit about change makers for education, and they selected like 30 to 40 participants from Asia and Southeast Asia, and those all were working in the field of education. Somewhere they were making an impact in the field of education. So this is how we got selected, and then we were announced that our summit destination is in Malaysia. So as usual, it was a great experience, like going to Malaysia, experiencing another country, witnessing another country's culture, and then having a good environment where you were having 30 to 35 participants from across the Asia and Southeast Asia, learning about their work, about their organizations. And at the end, they have a very beautiful thing I just loved about that they co-created a collaborative funding program for all the participants. Like they can collaborate with each other and they can ask for funding from the organization, and then they can invest that small grant to their projects, whatever they are doing, whatever idea they believe in. So yeah, like I believe in such long-term impact of the conferences. I just don't go for one-time conference or one-time summit. I'm always, uh, choosy about it as well, because my purpose is not to see myself as an individual progressing or visiting different countries, for example. Of course there is an individual benefits as well, because you are experiencing new thing. You see a lot of good changes in your own personality as well. But at the end, my motivation is that what change I can bring back for my community, what affiliations I can bring back for my community, or what good partnerships I can do in the end or maybe later. So yeah, like these are some of the experiences I can share. And I can comment on. Yeah.
Wow, really interesting because once I was traveling, mostly all of my thoughts was going through the travel process. If someone will ask me about what kind of tips and tricks I will give them for some journeys, traveling, attending the conference, I will always say, first of all, carefully plan your trip because you never know what kind of situation you will face during your flights or other kind of trips. And it's really interesting and inspired hear your thoughts and everything that you already go through all your conferences, all your challenges, and looking back to your journey, what advice would you give to young people who want to make a big impact in their communities or in their countries?
Yeah, of course. Like, I believe every youth at the moment is suffering or struggling for something. Every youth has good dreams, either about themselves or about their communities, and they deserve the best of the best life, of course. So my advice is like, number one, you should not give up, even under the hard circumstances. I believe like this sentence can be very fantasy sometimes, because of course they will say like, once you have to step into our shoes, then you will learn that what we are going through. I totally understand it. Even sometimes when someone is giving me advice, I got anxious because of the environment, because of the surrounding I'm going through. So I just had this thought in my head, they don't know what I'm going through. We totally understand this. And number two is, always look for a good mental health support from your friends, from your parents, someone who understands you. So try to find out those friends who believes in your dreams, because friends can also be a great support. I would just mention one of my school friends, Eamon here. She has she has played a very vital role in my life, because we were friends in school. She was like very outspoken, very extrovert, but at the opposite side, I was like very introvert in the beginning, and I was not outspoken. Many times, believe me, he came to my home, he sat with my father, and he talked about my dreams with him. Like what I want, what are my dreams. And because of the lack of communication, I was not able to convey to my parents, like in the beginning, like my period of struggle, for example. So you see how your good friends can even play a vital role in your life, and they can change your life, and they can become a source for you to interpret sometime, maybe. So try to find out these friends. If at some point you are unable to convey your message to someone, so just you can take this smart strategy. And number three, I would say, uh, in, I think international help can be a great source. For example, I have this experience when I was fighting with all the system in my area, like my life, my cultural taboos, my stigmas, and I just wanted to fulfill my dreams. What I saw that I had less support from my local organizations, to be very honest, because maybe the system is very changed. So what I did is I just started writing down emails to different international organizations. And believe
Mhm.
me, this works for you. If you don't stop believing in your dreams, you can write down to different organizations, you can follow different organizations at international level. And these can be very local international organizations. I'm not saying writing down to UN, for example. No, I'm not saying this way. I believe like the local international NGOs can play a vital role in your life. They can support your dream. They can bring you to conferences, to summit. They can give you opportunities to speak about your issues. And from here, you can make a good change in your life. And from here, you can start your journey. So these things does work. Like as an advice, I can give you.
Mhm.
And number four, five, six, so on. I would say that uh, continue your dream work with the baby step. It is okay if you feel that at the moment I'm not a professionally well groomed, for example, because sometimes we had these depression and anxiety strokes in our mind that I didn't do anything in my life. I could not achieve whatever I wanted to do. Still, after so many achievements, still sometimes I also feel that I have not done anything in my life. I'm not a successful person as a my career. So these things can hit your head at a moment, but you have to stay calm. You have to believe in yourself, and you can continue your passion with small steps. You can start your own business, maybe uh, like with local products. So there are so many opportunities. We should not always rely on corporate culture. For example, many times youth are sitting and waiting for some jobs. For example, I'm just putting an example, and they are waiting for jobs because they have attained bachelor degree, they have attained degree. Of course, they deserve the best, and they are looking for a good employment, and they are looking for a good job. But I have not seen young people stepping out and taking the risk to start their own small businesses, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Even they can start from a very low investment. So these are the things where you can invest, where you can brainstorm, and you can shape your own career sometimes without relying on others, on waiting for others. So I understand sometimes these advices can be hard because everyone has different situation, different problems. But the best we can give them is they should not stop talking about it. They should, maybe they should be talking with friends, maybe they should be talking with their mother, with their father, and communication can play a vital role in their lives. And somewhere they will find a way, I'm sure.
That's really, really, impactful thought that you already mentioned. And we almost, unfortunately, finishing our interview, but I would talk more and more with you and discuss about more and more things. But of course, we need to understand that if we will have 2 hours of conversation on YouTube, we are not sure if someone will be patient during watching the whole video. But everyone who's watching us today, if you will have time, and of course you will be patient for watching 2 hours interview, please mention in the comment, and of course we will record such interviews and we will post it on YouTube and with Nabila especially. So for the finalization, with all the heads that we have in our interviews, I always propose them to share their final motivation so that will be inspire young leaders and maybe doing some motivation, impactful, bring some motivation, impactful thoughts in their head. So, what you would like to share for the final conclusion, motivation thought?
Or like the motivation from my side.
Yeah.
I think motivation can be uh, we can find out the motivation as a source from nowhere, even from anything. Maybe I like reading books. Maybe I like writing some essays, stories. It can also be a motivation, a small step to feel motivated. For example, because in my school and college life, I used to write a lot of things. Those things which I could not say to anyone, for example, those things, those ideas, those dreams, which I could not be confident to speaking with someone. So I had been finding a great source in writing. So you can start from writing. It can be a great source of motivation as well as a good storage of your dreams and your ideas. And number two, I would say that find out a good companionship with your parents, because your parents can be a great motivation for you in the end. I understand, like, most of the time the new generation and the old generation, like the parents, does not have a common thought process, and of course sometimes we even fall in fighting with our parents. But at the end, I think your parents can be a great way and a great source of motivation for you to reach your dreams, for you to fulfill your dreams. So I have a lot of communication with my parents as well. Sometimes I failed in the beginning, and I even arranged hundreds of meetings with my parents at some point for some certain issues, for some certain topics, but I did not give up on it, because for me the relations are very important in your life. Because no matter, in the end, we want to see ourselves successful, but at the end we want some relations, we want someone to be with us. So yeah, you can find motivation in anywhere, in at any stage of your life. unless you want to find it out. Yeah, this is very simple.
Thank you very much for mentioning that. I guess only two or three people in our interview mentioned about relationship, and that's a really important thing because thankful our people that around us and their supports, and thankful our friends, our families, we are what we are right now, and thankful for them. We are doing some first steps and doing great job, and we believe in ourselves. Thankful for their support. And yeah, thank you, Nabila, for bringing it to the table. And that's it for our today interview with Nabila Abbas. And we really had a great time learning about your journey, Nabila, from Southern Punjab, if I'm not mistaken, right? So really making a global impact, and your work that you're doing to support rural communities and your leadership style are really truly inspiring. And again, big thank you, Nabila, for taking the time to speak with us today and for sharing an amazing story. And of course, to our viewers, I have last words. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more interviews like this, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And of course, please don't forget to leave your comments, questions to Nabila below this video, and we will really appreciate for your support and help us bringing more great content for our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in our next video. Thank you, Nabila.
Thank you, everyone.